Whenever you're ready.
All right, great. We'll get started. This is the Village of Pittsford Historic Preservation Board meeting of Monday, June 15th, 2026. Tonight we're doing the Gaskin Award presentation. Then we have 3 applications and a couple member items, but before we get started, I think we need to open the meeting. So do I have a motion to open tonight's meeting?
Motion to open.
Thank you. Good. Thank you, Jim.
Member Lanahan,
Yes.
member Ruth,
Yes.
member McRae,
Yes.
Chair Olson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, great. And before we start, do we have any, does any of our board members need to recuse themselves for any reason tonight?
No. No.
Me neither. Okay, great. So we'll start with the Gaskin Award presentation. And I believe we have the 2. You want to come on up? And is it Rachel?
Yeah.
Okay, nice to meet you, Rachel. Yes, we got in contact with Brett and he said that you'd be coming over to accept this award. So this is a award that's been going on for a very long time. But I think there was a little bit of a gap in the last few years, but we started it back up last year. And it's something that the board discusses. All of the applications from 2025, we review them, and the ones that we think are the best towards historic preservation, not necessarily in the size and scale of the project or a dollar value, but more along the lines of what has someone in our village done to really advance historic preservation and preserve the community that we all love and choose to live in. So last month and the month before, we've discussed and voted upon 19 North Main Street as the 2025 Gaskin Award winner. So I'll stand up and read this, but this is just a certificate of merit that we're going to present to you. We stood last year, so we'll stand again, unless anyone else wants to read it. Okay. The Village of Pittsford Board of Trustees and the Historic Preservation Board recognize the outstanding efforts of Brett Pagoda and Rachel in preserving and rehabilitating the historic residence located at 19 North Main Street. Originally constructed as a Farrell style residence that later expanded with Italianate architectural features, 19 North Main Street is an important contributor to the historic character of the Village of Pittsford. Throughout thoughtful restoration of the home's windows, Mr. Pagoda demonstrated an exceptional commitment to historic preservation by selecting traditionally crafted wood windows, maintaining historically appropriate proportions, and preserving the architectural details that define the building's historic significance. The project reflects a careful balance of modern functionality and authentic preservation, ensuring the continued integrity of one of Pittsburgh's most notable historic structures. The care and stewardship of the village's historic buildings ensure a bright tomorrow for our community and preserve our architectural legacy for the future generations to enjoy. Be it resolved that the Village of Pittsford hereby salutes the efforts of Brett Pagoda to continue Pittsford's tradition of historic preservation and calls upon all residents of Pittsford to join in this tribute and expression of appreciation. Thank you.
Really appreciate this too.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I will all stand for this.
I am. An alternate gets.
Absolutely.
So we're just a little more.
Okay.
Okay. Or just glowing Rachel. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, yes, thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah,
Great.
absolutely. All right, so we'll start with, actually, we're gonna start with 15 Maple Street because that was a table item from last meeting. So we'll start with number 3, 15 Maple Street. Thanks. Sure. Welcome back. It's good.
So most of my guys are here, it was proposal to add 16 panels to the back side of the house. To offset the electric. There. We did recently get approval from RG&E for the project, so once we get approval here, we can do having an installation done.
And we were here last time and everybody advised us, thank you, it would be good to come back and try again this time because different people come different times and it's a little bit visible from the next street over, but only a little bit, so the debate last time was about is that minimally visible or is it not minimally visible according to what the rules are supposed to be?
Right. So, I don't think, were you here last week
I was
or
not.
last month? And then Tina, you're an alternate, so thanks for joining. So basically and just to add to what the applicants have said, all of the panels are on the back of the house, which is great. But on the back of the house from Elmbrook, you can see some of them. So this was really more along the lines of is it visible or not? And at last meeting, we only had 3 board members in attendance.
Okay.
And I was vocal about the fact that the right side panels were visible from Elmbrook, but that again is just one vote, so.
I did go over there this afternoon and to me, it did appear quite visible. I took some pictures from your neighbor to the back, and I would say probably unfortunately for you and how I would decide on this, I could clearly see the entire half of the house. The other half of the house
Right.
didn't appear to be visible. It looked like there was some new plantings in there, new arborvitaes that your neighbors had planted since the photo that was in the application. But I don't think we can make a ruling based on plantings.
No,
And also I think it probably would take a good 7 to 10 years before those would be big enough, if they let them get big enough. Anyway, but what I saw was a lot of visibility, so I think I would be more, just because of the way that the code is written, you're not supposed to be able to see. So as I understand it, unless something has changed.
I think that the solar guidelines are not as black and white as that.
Okay, could you,
Do they have copies of the solar guideline? I know you printed them last time.
I've stopped printing them, I've been having time with the solar, they're on the website, I'm sorry. I don't know if Tina has seen them in a while, so let me get. you
yeah,
one,
I'm
okay?
sorry about that. I'm an alternate.
I have them.
I'm not here every
Okay.
month, so,
I have a question about the roofing material. Is it so dark that you wouldn't be able to see the difference between the panels and the roofing material?
well, I think she has a gray roof.
No, yeah, you can tell that it's a solar, there is
The
a.
panels will be black and the
differentiation.
roof is gray.
Yeah,
Okay.
They're plain black, but they're not the same as the.
Yeah, was that your question? If the
Yes.
colors matched? Yeah.
I mean, I'm guessing on number 3 alone, that the solar harvesting systems on roofs should have no or very minimal visibility from any public way.
I guess our question is. There are other solar systems that, and ones that we've done and gotten approved. You can see them from certain spots, if you stand, there's a. Small window where you can see the system and it has been approved. So I don't know what makes this one any different than the other, so.
So which one are you referencing?
The 2 that we've done on Mountain and Washington, you can see both of them from a certain spot, if you stand on a side.
Yeah,
On a sidewalk. You can-
One
you
of
can see it.
them, one whole side, so if you're on the street, you definitely see it.
I think the way I've interpreted that ruling, it says not visible or minimally visible. So if you're in the street in front of the house and you're not seeing it, then I would consider that as minimally visible if it's on a back surface where you really don't have direct visibility from the main street. That's how I interpret that ruling, but I see it as a gray line there that each person has to take
So it's certainly not visible from Maple Street, the main street, the main
Of course,
thoroughfare.
yeah.
But it's minimally visible or perhaps more visible from Elmbrook, correct? That was your interpretation.
I considered Elmbrook just as public a way as Maple, so I could clearly see half of the roof. If you were only talking about installing half and it was on that I would consider minimally visible on the half that is not visible.
Right, and the building
But-
inspector suggested that last month as well,
Okay.
saying that can we get the efficiencies from just installing it on the left side?
Is that worth it to you to
It would
have
be
that?
very little help to see this. I've been living in a house that has front and back roof covered, and it still doesn't cover the hills, and ideally, I should have applied for front and back. You know, if the village just supported solar straight up. And I think someday we will. Because right now, I think these streets are so close together that it's pretty hard to find. It's a miracle that we found a house with the back facing south, the other houses there, and it seemed ideal, but we still have this old language that I think will change, just a question of when.
Yeah, the Washington house that you're referencing, I think that was before anybody on this board was appointed to it. It was before my time, yeah, and I've been here for almost 4 years now, or I think it's 4, might be more than that. But that was before our time. Obviously, that board deemed it acceptable. I'm not sure how or why they did that, if based on the criteria. The house on Boughton, I argued against that for Justin, and I think Justin does a phenomenal job on his preservation work too. The board in that instance thought that since it was an addition to the home and that the roof wasn't so steep, that was the majority of the argument on why the Boughton house was approved. But I still publicly voted against it based on what you said. You can see it from south, you can see it from Jackson Park, you can see it on Boughton. There's like, in my opinion, multiple places that you can see it. So that was one vote for it against it. I'm not sure if that was a 3-2 or a 4 against 1, but yeah, I do understand why you would say, how about what those two homes have done too?
So can I ask something like, and I guess the code is written as it's written, but what is the problem with having solar panels?
Yeah,
What is the issue? I mean, there's other technology, there's streetlights and power lines and all kinds of other modern things,
yeah.
satellite dishes, you know, or whatever.
Well, we don't really approve satellite dishes either. But really what it comes down to is historic preservation and the look and the feel that we want to have in this village. And it's only 1 square mile. It's not all of Pittsford or anything like that, but it's a small and nationally recognized historic preservation district that we have code and design guidelines to preserve the look and the feel of what these homes were when they were built. And adding modern amenities like that would just go against any of what I interpret historic preservation. And the reason why we all love this village so much is because of the feel we have and that we've preserved and that we're trying to preserve here. And that's just me. There's multiple other people on the board that can comment on solar panels, and some other popular features that we vote against or vote for.
So the background on Washington, that's what drove the then board to develop these guidelines. And that was the guidelines were a culmination of searches, some expert opinion that came to the meeting at which they were developed. And the intent was that it would be a holistic look at the guidelines as applied to the situation. It was not, and that's how Washington got approved. It was not an all or nothing. So, you know, maybe if they were really close to the roof, if they were minimally visible, They were on a rear elevation. These were all things that were gonna start weighing in favor of the solar panels, so it wasn't really like a check the box thing, an absolute prohibition thing. It was consider all of these things and put them all together, because that's how all of the preservation briefs and all of the literature we were able to get from preservation authorities are written. They're written in a way that is, it's a holistic, you have to look at the whole thing. And is it really an objectionable thing in terms of historic preservation? Because the briefs are all written from the perspective of trying to get solar in to help these buildings where they can. So that's the thrust of where those guidelines came from, and that's how Washington got approved. Just background.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff.
I would think that, I mean. If I were on the sport, I'd be thinking. It's an incentive for the kind of people who want to support things like solar and renewable. And it's a disincentive if they're not allowed to consider that, so I'd shift it more to. The whole, if you want to look at a holistic. If the more we're trying to make it possible, if we can improve.
That's an excellent point. One of the other aspects of our guidelines is that we're trying to support sustainability.
Exactly.
And so I think this application is a good example of something that is minimally affects the character of the village.
Yeah.
Something that affects it much more is that if the people on that Elm Brook hadn't removed their giant trees from their property, you wouldn't be able to see it at all. But that homeowner was allowed to cut down huge trees. And now there's a big gap that allows your property to be visible. That was a much more damaging thing to the village than a slight view. Maybe, I mean, if you really stare at it, if you're walking by or you're driving by slowly, you might be able to see it. But so what, in my opinion, so what? If it's a technology that is removable, that is part of our sustainability culture, I don't see it as damaging to the tone and character of the village. That's my personal opinion. I do consider removing historic trees to be damaging.
I wish we had control over that, but we don't. But we also don't. I mean, I have not personally written this code. I think we're all just here to interpret it and you know, help other people understand it. So I don't. The way that I'm interpreting that, it would not be okay. But that is, you know, and of course you have a different interpretation of that, but I as I'm reading this.
Does it basically, in your interpretations, then essentially disallow solar? Because I would imagine you could, no matter where you are, you could see every roof in this village.
Well, I think not. If there's a solar harvesting system on the Mesner flooring building where you literally cannot see it.
They
And then
do kind of a
like
flat roof though.
Yeah.
Right?
And then also the two that,
I remember that one.
Certain angle.
I was here for that, that
and
application.
then how about the two that were approved, or not approved, but removed last week? Because the building inspector said you cannot see it. It's covered by trees and they're hidden, they're back off of South Ave. Was it South Ave? South Street, yeah, and,
But it
so,
was sort of in the middle of a block.
yeah.
It didn't really have any street near.
And I,
Out here it's in the center.
yeah, and then the code enforcement officer said that they don't need to be here, that it's not visible from the street.
I would also say with the building itself is relevant in the application, and with Messner flooring, it's a commercial building and it's visible from the parking lot in a commercial area. But putting solar on the roof of a residential building it's, for me, that's a different application. And I would be hard pressed to find a historic home that a solar installation looked appropriate with. But that's, again, my opinion. And so it's not, I guess I wouldn't be saying, no, you absolutely can't have it, but I can't think of a residence in this village that it would look appropriate on. And so if we're looking for historical appropriateness, I don't think solar panels come, I mean, some things are a more practical thing, like you could say asphalt shingles, we didn't have those back then, and everybody has asphalt shingles. Well, that one's where it's like, you know, those horses that left the barn, and it's not, we're not going back to wood shingles, it's not gonna happen. But putting solar panels on, you might want solar panels, somebody else wants something else. It's kind of a slippery slope when you start, oh, well, you know, I want solar panels, and you know, how bad is it? You've got a set of rules that's our job to follow them and try to maintain the historic nature of the village that everybody wants to move into, but then everybody also wants to do their own thing.
And change it a little bit, and then it loses its character of uniformity.
So
I did,
things,
I did Google, when were solar panels installed on roofs? It was before this house was built, plus it's 1947, it's not one of the real old houses.
it's not a really old one, but 47 is still historic, and with the village, there's a blanket historic code,
Yeah,
I guess.
Code and guidelines.
But you know, again, you're correct that each individual building has its own character, and some things that would be okay on a 1947 house would not be okay on a, you know, 1810 house, and so it does need to be looked at as its own thing. But I would say that the removal of those trees did make, unfortunately, your garage, or it's not your garage, but your main house much more visible from the road. I was actually quite shocked when I saw how much could be seen. I just got the application today and walked over, and I'm like, that's a lot that can be seen. And I guess I've said my 2 cents.
The style of this house, though, the simplicity of it, is, you know, it's a very plain little kind of boxy house from the 40s, and so it seems that the panels are less disruptive to a house of this style than one with a much more complex roof line.
I'd say that's true.
So do you want us to make a vote on this tonight?
I don't know, see,
Okay,
last time you gave us a choice of voting or not, we did vote and each 2-1, but
right.
those 2 people are. And so we came back in hopes of having more members here.
Yeah,
So I think if we.
You got me instead.
We'll keep coming, then we'll find out. Because, you know, you'll find out too, how everybody feels. We'll just continue the discussion,
okay,
how everybody feels about it. So if we defer till next time.
okay.
Get on the agenda.
Then I'll make a motion to table this application to the July meeting.
It is July 20th, just so that you know, it's the third Monday of each month.
Second the motion?
To take,
Member
Yes,
Root,
table.
Yes.
member Lanahan,
yes.
member McGray,
Yes.
Chair Olson,
Yes.
motion passes.
That's what the ground up. You pass over the ground up.
That would be even more visible, I think, it would be behind the house also.
What are the guidelines, what are the guidelines, the ground mounted rather than on the furniture?
Oh, well, I don't know that you could see it on the ground because of,
No, that takes up the yards and front space, but. I just thought I had.
Consider it as an option for next meeting maybe, but
Let's see what happens.
we gotta keep moving on.
Okay.
All right.
I would actually find that less objectionable than saying it up on the structure. Like, to me, that's almost like a garden enhancement, but
In the interim, I haven't had a chance to view the property, so I'll go over and walk around and have a look from and look.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, then we'll go to 9 Washington Avenue for the fence.
Hi.
How are you? And your name is?
Lisa.
Lisa.
Sorry.
It won't make you so sure.
This is what we're looking at. We want to control line of the house. Did I say more?
So I think we've all reviewed this. I'll kind of read through it just to, out of respect for Lisa, but replacement of existing Victorian concave scalloped pine fence with a Victorian concave scalloped cedar picket fence, same location and placement and dimensions. Lisa states the old dimensions of the pickets and posts and bottom rails in her application. And on the second page, is this an in-kind replacement? Yes. And does this project include the removal or demolition of existing components? Yes. The proposed dimensions, style are the same as existing, and the proposed material is cedar rather than pine, painted white up over the top. Is there anything else you want to add to that, or is there anything?
I think the only adjustment I would make is that I believe the old fence was slightly taller
Okay,
than 48 inches. I think the highest point they were 55 inches. I believe now currently they're 48 inches,
okay,
40.
so,
slightly shorter than the old fence because it's a standard.
It's not really in kind.
right,
There are subtle differences, which is why I think you're here. It's because it's
Absolutely.
really
The original fence also had was a flat, skinny, flat, horizontal picket rather than a square picket. To my understanding of historic structures, the square picket is more historical, it's more original to the period. And the style of the house. Also has, the pointed, like round top, rather than flat top, select picket, so that's again more historical to. The origin, which would have been more original.
Will it have the
Yes,
swooping valleys?
yes, it was still a slab,
oh, well, okay, so that's why it says picture shows straight top,
yes.
but yours will still match the existing pattern.
Yeah, the order itself. Is for the scallop fence rather than the straight top, like the brochure just identifies the only have the straight top on the top. In the brochure. It noted that the scallop was an option.
There are several locations around the village that have that the square pickets with the pyramidal dots, and I think it's a good choice. And it's the stated on here that the placement, the location is essentially the same.
Yeah.
You just put it right back where a new one in where the other one comes out. Okay.
And then the gate is, there's nothing we need to worry about with the gate, it's the same material. Okay,
The same specifications in terms of the bottom. There. So that's the fence.
okay,
Whereas the original, I think, was made to look like the fence, but it wasn't part of the system, so it was kind of not as, I would say, consistent looking materials was.
Yeah.
But overall, the all fence.
okay. Any questions?
Not really, no, it seems very straightforward.
Jim?
Good.
I'll make a motion to approve the application as presented.
Second.
Member Lanahan,
Yes.
member McRae,
Yes.
member Root,
Yes.
Chair Olson,
Yes.
motion passes.
Thank you, it looks like a beautiful improvement.
Findings of facts, if fence is a provable material, The location is not changing. It meets all the guidelines and design, it meets all the design characteristics of the fence for a home of this age. And it's an improvement to the fence that is slightly deteriorating. Okay, then we'll go to 45 Monroe Avenue for the siding. How are you?
Jason, it's Normal Cambridge Park Development, we're doing the addition at 45 Monroe Avenue.
You said Jason?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh.
That was. Which is
So
what they're
there should
looking
be
at.
another sample of clapboard that I gave Steve.
I'll look for you back.
Currently existing garage has cedar on it. And we're looking to propose doing a hardy clapboard on it
Okay,
for a couple of reasons. That one, the big one is the cost of the cedar. Is significant compared to the hardy. The hardy will be exactly the same as the cedar. This is they only had a wood grain panel, but we're gonna do a smooth panel, which is what's on the garage now.
and what is on the garage is cedar, right?
Yeah, cedar.
So you said clapboard for what?
For the addition.
So it will be cedar shingles on the original structure. In the addition, we'll have,
We'll have a clapboard, which they look like clap standing at a distance. They're very tight, the existing cedar.
yeah,
Bottom pipe. We'll have the same exact reveal, which is 5 1/4.
okay. Sorry, I didn't mean
No,
to.
They do make a hardy shape, but it definitely would stand out compared to what's on there now because of the drip lines are
Yeah.
spread out. So that's not an option, I wouldn't think. But the clap is almost dead on.
Okay, so this is just an addition to the garage that we just did probably 3 or 4 months ago.
What's that?
This project that you're working on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That you approved,
right.
yes.
In that approval, we made the comments that everything is gonna match what's on the existing garage.
Right.
This one, we went back and forth with the applicant like 3 or 4 times about.
What's the homeowner?
Well, technically it was the previous homeowner, so
Yes,
it was the
okay,
applicant.
architect.
That's why I'm using the applicant.
Yep.
At that time. And I'm 90% sure, maybe I could go back and look again, but I thought we said everything would match original.
And
I can give it that.
this will match the original, I know it's a different material, but it will match exactly. The issue is it's such a small addition. It's about $15,000 for the siding material if we do cedar. Plus the maintenance years to come. Hardy is half the price with less maintenance.
On our board, we can't really worry about the financial burden towards anybody.
Good information.
It's good information, but
We're not allowed to consider.
No, I
the price.
think overall it's a longer lasting, better product than the cedar with less maintenance.
Mhm. I guess in my, years ago history, I feel as though we did approve new additions with Hardy because it was a new addition, and this is before Hardy was really being used. I think it's been used quite a bit in the village since then, but when people were first bringing it up, we had considered it okay on a new addition, even on a house that had wood. And so that kind of fell in that area where you're like, okay, with the amount that you can tell from the street, which you really, I have to admit, I can't tell the difference. I wouldn't necessarily approve of a whole house taking off their wood and putting on hardy, but I think, I personally think that there is room for it in addition.
yeah. Yeah, just reading through it, it says where possible, including the reuse of wood, excuse me, where possible, the revised plans is to preserve the portions of the existing structure, including the reuse of wood windows and inside, and that was something that I put in specifically for those to be preserved, including the siding, so is the rest of the original structure siding, is it in good shape?
So it's, some of it's good, some of it's so. What's nice about the addition, it doesn't sit flush with the face of the existing garage. It
Right.
sits back a little, so you would never, know, with a magnifying glass.
Yeah,
You're proposing maintaining the original siding on the
Correct.
original structure, the hardy just for the.
Just for the addition.
yeah, okay,
It's gonna have the same reveal.
Yeah, 5 1/4, exactly the same.
I think the only question I have, and it's more on the actual design, not even necessarily the reveal. Because you mentioned the reveal will match,
Yeah,
right? We have the step back to show that it is a new structure and not trying to pretend to be an original. And we also have this material. So you mentioned that the original structure is cedar shingles,
cedar shingles, butted tightly and painted so many.
which is and so incredibly popular in our village. So we're all very familiar with
Yeah.
that. So then on the addition, what are you proposing? Because you keep saying then clapboard. And I understand the technique of like clapboard, but are
Well,
you talking about using a cedar shingle style clapboard, or is this gonna be
It would be an exact actual clapboard.
yeah, so it's gonna look like two garages now.
No, it's gonna look like one, because there's no, the shingles are so tight on the existing structure.
They actually look.
It looks like, if you're standing in the driveway, it looks like clapboard.
But we know it's cedar shingles. You know what I'm saying?
I didn't go to look at it, so I guess I can't tell.
So I mean, we all know what a cedar shingle looks like. We don't have to be up to a magnifying glass or to see what a cedar shingle looks like. And then we know what clapboard board looks like. So if this whole application was approved to add on this addition to this garage, and then just because of financial burden, you guys are saying, you know what, never mind, we don't like what they approved back in April, then now let's go ask them for clapboard siding. That garage isn't supposed to have a clapboard siding, even if the reveal's the same.
The main house is all clapboard.
That's completely fine,
Um,
in my opinion. I mean, I'm not taking that into consideration. The applications for a garage and what we approved back in, February, March, and April, we met with like 3 or 4 times. This was a tough one to even approve in the first place. And then had to be like, oh, wait, by the way, we changed the scope of the project just because of the financial burden, when we even talked about preserving the siding and preserving the windows and doing what we can to make this garage look as much as it should have looked in whatever year it was built.
Is there really a reason not to just find another shingle?
As far as a cedar shingle,
Either cedar shingle or the hardy board that would be a similar type.
yeah, this is the only way hardy comes with the bigger drip lines in it.
And that's that gap, is that what you're describing? The line?
Yeah, so we can make the reveal to 5 1/4, but you'd still see the bigger lines where what's there now is butted tight. Well, this one, I would think would look not right.
I'm feeling like I didn't do my homework here and go to take a look at this, because I guess I would want to know, does it really look like clapboard? I mean, from what you're saying, like this shingle doesn't look like a shingle, that, like the other. The hardy shingle is actually not gonna look like what's there.
I know that we're about ready to start now, roofing, so we'd love to get going on it, but if you guys want to take a better look, I would.
Well,
I mean, especially with hardy board, when it comes to this, it already looks incredibly clean when you put on clapboard. Like, we've done additions with
Yeah.
clapboard on it. You can tell that it's flat and clean. It doesn't look like cedar shingles. It's not gonna be like, Oh, they all look the same. It's gonna be like, oh, that side of the garage has cedar on it, and that side of the garage has clapboard on it.
Mhm.
The material is nice. But it is noticeable that you can say, okay, that looks like clapboard. Soft finish.
So the front of the existing garage, there's about 12 inches of cedar shake that you see on each side, and then you see nothing else. There's nothing on each side of the existing garage door, so you're gonna see this much on each side. And then our new addition face, which you'll probably see maybe 20-something inches on each side, and then you wrap it around the building, so it's not a ton.
Yeah.
But
Are you suggesting maybe you could do the cedar on the front and then use the hardy on the sides
I
you
mean,
can
we
see?
probably-
Because we don't know what you do on those walls that we can't see, so.
well, I mean, we probably could, well, that's an option.
I don't know if that's something you would necessarily be excited about,
Yeah.
but, I also just, as my opinion, I wasn't on the board for the approval process of this other one. I understand it was,
Yeah.
deliberated quite a bit. For a new addition, if that had been, I felt like there might be room for a different material on a new addition.
Yeah.
And even to look different than the thing that is there, because you're not trying to make it, and that's a gray area, you know, like, you're not trying to make it look like it was there, but you
Well, we
also
took those-
don't want it to look weird.
That we took those measures with the style roof that we put on and with the second garage and the lighting on the second garage. If
Mhm.
there's different lightings instead of, let's see if it's in. There's different lighting styles that we used. The sconces are only in front of the original garage,
Mhm.
where this will have down lighting on it. To not
Mhm.
make it look like it was an original two-car garage. We took all of those measures
Yeah.
to try and like not make it look like it's an original garage, but then also say, okay, this is the addition. So there's, in my opinion, on this one, we already took those measures that were needed.
Okay.
You guys have any comments or want to talk about anything? or-
It seems that if the house is clapboard and the addition is clapboard, that implies the two buildings together. It just the addition.
Well, it would be a stylistic change for sure. I think if you're gonna have clapboard, then you would have to do some other details different, because you wouldn't have clapboard just wrap around the corner, you'd have to have a corner board. It's a different style.
We can weave the.
But I don't- Yeah, well, I don't know, oh, you can, but you wouldn't have done that with clapboard. Like, if you had clapboard on an old house, it would all end in a corner board. And that's not the style that you have there, and I don't know that I wanna open the can of
Yeah.
worms that you guys have already deliberated and gone
They're
over.
two different then. Mhm.
Well,
Yeah.
we're talking about a different thing, something that has already been worked through, so I'm, visiting tonight, I'm not looking
Right.
to upset something that you guys really took a lot of time and
I
effort.
wouldn't know, have known how worked through it was.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm here basically for the homeowner.
I guess, yeah, I'm saying if you're gonna try for a different material, you're talking about not just changing a material, you're changing a style. You're making a statement that this is full on an addition, and, we did that by choice, and if you're gonna do that, like, you're saying you have to do it like I meant it, not like this was an accident, like, oh, we just, oh, oops, that doesn't
That
really
was-
match.
it's fine.
That was definitely the intention of the setback and the different lighting.
And it seems very, very deliberate, very thought out, and, yeah, I don't know that revisiting that and redesigning that addition is the right thing to do, just to accommodate, less expensive material.
Yeah.
Um,
So, do you guys have any more questions or anything, or one?
Like, there's no shortage of cedar shingles,
No.
like readily available.
Yeah.
Okay. So
In a couple of weeks.
I mean, what I would say is. You can take this information back to the owners, let them know. What we've talked about tonight, and that it should be cedar shingles throughout this project. If there is really big considerable pushback to a point where they're gonna pause the project type of thing,
Yeah.
then let's have a special meeting next week. They can come in and we can talk next week.
We don't have time for any special meetings. They'd have to wait until July.
Okay,
Yeah, unfortunately. So, to put them into the calendar.
okay. We try to do special meetings when needed. But, so, again, they could reach out and Alexandra would have the same comment, but it would be more along the lines of, they have to come in and have a conversation on
Right.
options and some other design changes that would then incorporate what they're trying to do into this project, so. I'd make a motion to table the application, instead of voting on it.
They are entitled to a vote.
Yeah, if you want one, we can vote on it.
Yes.
Okay,
If you do not get three to pass, you can still come back at another meeting
Okay.
for a full board.
That's three against.
Yeah, or three, four against, yes, yes.
so I'll make a motion to, deny this application as presented.
I'll second.
Member McRae? Yes or no to deny?
Certain. Um. No, I'd say no.
Member Root?
Yes.
So the application does not pass because we got 3 votes to deny it. They have to reapply with a new. Application.
I'll run it all by them and get our due diligence.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for coming in, appreciate it. Okay. Do we have more tonight?
No, so offline, Robbie is gonna meet the board afterwards, but otherwise, I don't know, who are you here for? Just visiting?
No, I was informed to come to this meeting because I had submitted an application, I think like the day that was due, that I was, I can't remember the gentleman's name, he came over to my house,
What's your address?
9 Sutherland Street.
You are definitely not on the agenda, I don't have your application, but you can come up and talk about it information only. If you'd like, to see. Yeah, the board has, does not have any record of you for the application for tonight.
I do have a time thing too.
Okay, do you, which care?
Well, the problem is that the board isn't really looking at, give information. Well,
We've done information only without materials before, so
that could work in this.
that's an administrative error.
I don't know who the building inspector is.
It's
We
Steve.
do know who he is,
Yeah.
yeah.
I couldn't.
Yes,
That's why I was asking.
yeah,
So I gave it to Steve and you weren't here that, there was another lady,
okay,
May 27th, it
um,
was for offense.
Oh, that's probably too late to be on this meeting.
yeah, we don't have any materials for the board to review the
He must have
application.
misspoke though, if they come to this meeting, because May 27th would be too late, wouldn't it, to be?
I don't know, he is here now, it's up to the board if you can hear. If it's design and if it's good, then you have a good application, but if not, yeah, we'd have to table our.
How much time do you have?
So it's,
At that point.
it's partially in.
You don't see.
My name's fine. The backyard is already partially enclosed and we were just looking to do a full enclosure. It's currently stocky paneling, I don't know, maybe iron or something. And we would be doing a dog ear, 6 foot. Burger. Thanks for hearing my
How do you do this? I mean.
Yeah,
So,
That go against the front yard.
no, I mean, from the road, the only way, you'll be able to see it down our neighbor's driveway.
The question was height only. It's going beyond the front of the house, it can only be 3 feet.
No, it connects to the
I
back.
assume Steve, not to.
It's pretty common backyard fence. I mean, without seeing it, couldn't say it's a
Yeah,
home run, but it doesn't seem, no red flags just from what you said.
great. So what do I do intro?
I'm gonna have to call you tomorrow.
Okay.
Today, I'll let Steve.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Wait.
Thank you.
Here you go. Then you can call me too,
Okay,
and then I'll talk with Steve about it also.
okay, thank you.
Thanks for staying.
That's the first one, that's all.
Otherwise, just quick minutes and 3 of you are here to approve them, I believe,
Ah.
for April.
Okay, so it,
Yeah,
Jim,
You don't
What?
have enough?
at the end of the time.
so we, nothing to vote on for these? Okay. Okay, so Historic Preservation Conference,
If Jim wants to talk today.
Oh, yeah.
I know.
A quick summary, which was, I went to the Historic Preservation Conference down in Cooperstown, New York. In August for a couple days and listened to a bunch of different things.
April,
Mhm.
isn't that when you went in April?
Of course, April.
Oh.
So Abigail went as well. And we had listened to a few different speakers. One of them was interesting. A woman from Louisville was talking about, in general, they're trying to go through and update design standards at times. And, you know, pointed out things like maybe like solar panels, like I want to put something that's more solid concrete, so it's less of a debate every time a solar panel comes up.
Yeah,
Maybe there might be some opportunities like that. And she had also done a lot to index their design standards. So like if you're gonna say, talk about windows, you might have like, here are the 10 key bullet points throughout the standards, all indexed with where in the actual text it's written. That kind of seemed like an interesting thing. I might do that for my own quickness of being able to address things down the road. And so that was kind of interesting. I also heard about barn tax credit program, which was interesting. Anyone who has like an old put on beam barn can get 25% of the cost of
Yeah.
any improvements to it.
and I think the Landmark Society is really good about that too. I have a barn, I was considering doing some stuff to it years ago. And I got in contact with the Landmark Society and they were good about saying there's tax credits available for, you know, shoring up a barn to preserve it. I think Victor had something going on too one year where they did an additional tax incentives on the Victor barns.
If it's a working barn.
Oh, that's what that was in
Yeah,
Victor?
it can't be, well, in general, according to things I've read, it has to be a working barn. It can't be a barn that you're trying to convert into a granny flat or something.
Yeah,
Oh, that's very.
interesting.
So
Well,
more
mine's a
than,
working barn, I work in there.
so if you're,
Gray area.
Yeah.
you're to put a new roof on that barn,
Yeah,
they'd cover, the state will cover 25% of it through a credit.
wow, that's incredible. So I didn't even.
Simple one-page form, you don't have to supply receipts supposedly. They just look at it and say, yeah, that seems reasonable.
Perfect.
So that's a good thing. And then we learned a little bit about wall insulation, what Steve had brought up previously about
Oh, yeah.
wanting to have our R30 for anything that you're doing significant wall renovations to.
So did everyone say that they would go the same route that our village did?
Not exactly. There
Really?
seemed to be a lot of kind of mixed messages.
Even with what it does to the exterior and to the windows and the reveals?
Correct.
Interesting.
There was a lot of kind of confusion, although the topic was about that thing. One of their messages was, well, you have to send everything for approval to the state, and then they'll let you know on each application if that's okay.
Like, okay, you have to do it, or okay, you don't have to do it?
Correct.
Wow.
Which would be too confusing. So I think what has been done here should really make more sense. And I brought up that topic with a couple of people, and they seemed to, I don't know, I didn't get anyone who vetoed that.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. And then,
Wait, on that topic, before you move forward, Jeff,
Yeah.
do we need to do anything else on that? We're done with that? Okay, thank you.
okay. And those were the most significant things to me. So I'll stop there at 3
Nice.
good points.
Nice.
I'm not prepared to present my notes on the conference. I didn't get the memo that we were doing it today, so I will do it next time.
Perfect.
I just wanted to ask a question too. When we're using the terminology code versus guidelines. On the record is a little confusing because like solar is not in our code, right, Jeff? And so the code enforcement will enforce attributes of the project relating to the code. But when we're talking about something like solar, it's a set of guidelines, it's just where you said it's like.
You can rely on code only. And the guidelines is just a way to kind of distill thinking. That makes sense.
Yeah.
We were using those interchangeably
I think
a
I-
few times during the discussion in the last two meetings, and it was a little confusing.
So the code trumps everything.
Mhm.
That's the law. The guidelines are guidance that if we apply uniformly, that's a good thing. Gives people guidance about what they could do.
And they're backed up by the code.
Yeah.
None of the guidelines would contradict what the code says.
Well, not only that, they are anticipated in the code, they are adopted in the code. And so they are something that you can rely on in making decisions.
Very good. Do you want to meet with us offline? Okay,
Just an introduction, yeah.
okay, then
Thank you for asking.
I'll make a motion to close the meeting.
Second?
Member Lanahan,
Yes?
member McRae,
Yes?
member Rude,
Yes.
Chair Olson,
Yes.
motion passed.
What about